So how do you tell a story? In the movie The Dead Poets Society, I don't know if any of you remember that, it was a while back. Robin Williams plays the instructor. At the beginning, pardon me, at the beginning of one of the scenes, he has a young man read the equation for what makes a good story. And at the end of the guy reading the equation, he goes, excrement. There is no equation. The audience will tell you if it's a good story. So, but telling the story, then how do you do it? How do you set it up? What do you do? Well, in this case, the Tiffy story, if you will, the gap setting the story up. First thing, Tiffy drawing blood. You've got to earn the attention of the audience. Maybe it means inhabiting a character. In this case, I was the 6-year-old boy standing across the street from the 11-year-old boys throwing sticks and rocks. I used a dynamic tone shift, Tiffy breaking the skin and the consequences. When you're telling a story, it's important that you make eye contact, that you look at people, and you don't just glance, you got to look, you got to hold it. It's got to be at least 3 seconds or it doesn't count. And you've got to own the story. Practice it, make it your own. It is your own. Here's an example of a fun story I got to give a while ago. Oakland Hills. There's a lot of mentions of the Bay Area in this talk, and I appreciate you allowing me to do that. I was asked to talk about priorities in life. I used the Oakland Hills fire of 1991 as the example. The fire raged for quite a few days, destroyed hundreds of houses, killed 36 people, millions of dollars in damage. What would happen would be you'd be in your house, knock on the door, and it's a policeman, a fireman, EMTs, whatever, they'd say, you got 30 minutes. Get what's important and get out. It's a great exercise to go through. What would you do if you had 30 minutes? What would you take? What's the important stuff in your life? After you've taken that inventory, you've got to ask yourself the question, am I living with those things as the priorities in my life? If I take the pictures of my kids, how much time am I spending with my kids? It's a good story. It's a great story. But then I did a shift. So there's one home up in Oakland Hills, beautiful area, incredible homes. They got the knock. They had 25 minutes, they were told. You got to get the important stuff and get out. Well, they had a beautiful wine cellar and they had a swimming pool, but they didn't have enough vehicles to put all the wine in the car and get out. So they formed a bucket brigade. The dad standing in waist deep water in the pool, nice cold water. For those of us that love wine, you like cold. The dad standing in the water. The mother is organizing the bucket brigade. Bottles are handed from child to child to child to the dad. He put them on the floor of the pool. Saved them all. They got out. They got in their cars. They left. 2 weeks later, they're allowed back in the house. His fate would have it, good fortune, the house was saved, no problem whatsoever. But you know what happened to the wine? The labels all were floating on the top. They had to start enjoying the inside of the bottle rather than the outside of the bottle. We put labels on people. We see Ferris with his beard and go, what's this guy like? We label people. It's important to open up the bottle, get to know the people, get to know what's inside. The length of your story. 2 quotes up here, the only quotes I'll read here. One I love them both actually. The first, I'm sorry that I wrote you a long letter. I didn't have time to write a short one. Abraham Lincoln. This second story is attributed to a number of different people. The one that I know the best is a president, I think it was Woodrow Wilson, was asked if he could give a talk. He said, well, how long is the talk? And they said, well, what does that matter? And he said, well, if I'm supposed to speak for 10 minutes, I'll need a week to prepare. If I'm to speak for 15 minutes, I can prepare in 3 days. If to speak a half an hour, 2 days. If an hour, I'm ready to go right now. So make the story as tight as you can. The story isn't about how many fancy words you can use. It's about recreating a wonderful experience in the audience's mind. My shortest speech. Ferris knows this story, I think. So I was at the Oakland Clean Job Summit about a couple weeks before the 2016 election. We were talking to people about how to get green jobs. This is an area, we call it the hole of the donut. There's great wealth in the Bay Area. It hasn't touched a lot of Oakland. So my job was, I had the dubious distinction of being the last speaker right before lunch, the one that people would just finish your story and get out of here. We had Mayor Schaaf, Libby Schaaf did a great job. We had a number of really key people. I still have no idea why I was one of the speakers, but I was. So I get up there and I'm supposed to talk about investing in clean tech. If you want to turn a group of people off right before lunch, give them a good long speech about cash flow analysis and how to make money in clean tech. You'll know real quick it's not a good speech. So here's my speech. So does anybody here know who Johann Fust was? I didn't allow them to use Google. You can if you want, but please don't. Nobody knew. So, okay. Does anybody know who Gutenberg was? Well, we all know who Gutenberg was. We talked about him before. 1440, invented the printing press. 1450, commercialized it. Johann Fust financed him. And I sat down. That was the story. That was it. Okay, you got to know when it's time to go. There's a great little game that the admirals play when they go to listen to speeches, changes of command or the like. One admiral will give a number. This is how many minutes they think this speaker is going to speak. If the admiral says 13, the other admiral gets to say over or under. Whoever wins the bet, the other guy has to buy him a drink. It's a great bet. I guide you all to be the person that they know is always going to be under. Make your speech shorter than expected, but not embarrassingly so. Leave them wanting more. And one of the best judgments of a great story, one of the best judgments to me is when after the story, somebody says, how did you know that's what I was thinking about?